We're going to be talking about Die with Zero today, and
Interesting concept.
it really is. Yeah, it's by Bill Perkins, and the book is all about how we should really be thinking about money
Mm.
and how that relates to our lives and this whole idea of, retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it really kind of flips the script on how we traditionally think about things.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because Perkins himself is like a really successful energy trader.
Right.
So he's not just some, armchair philosopher.
Yeah.
He's actually lived this.
He's been there.
Yeah, he's walked the walk.
Yeah, and that's actually what really drew me to this book in the first place.
I bet.
It's not that he's advocating for, reckless spending or anything like that,
Right.
but he really challenges that, traditional save every penny for a rainy day kind of mentality.
Hmm.
Like he tells the story about his roommate, Jason.
Oh, yeah, Jason.
Yeah, who borrowed money to backpack across Europe when he was like in his early 20s.
I love that story.
It's such a good story. And, Perkins uses that to illustrate his point that experiences are also investments,
Yeah.
even if they might seem a little risky up front.
Makes sense.
Right. Think about it, though, even years later, those memories from that trip,
Yeah,
the people he met along the way, the challenges he overcame,
absolutely.
those become like memory dividends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like those memories continue to pay off.
Yeah.
Long after the actual experience is over.
It's so true. It's like when you hear a certain song
Oh, yeah.
and it just takes you back to a specific moment.
Totally.
It's just pure joy.
I love that.
I love that too. And Perkins actually takes this idea even further.
Does he?
Yeah, he argues that these memory dividends
Mm-hmm.
actually compound over time. They
Interesting.
become richer the more we kind of reminisce about them and share those memories with others.
Oh, I like that.
It's so true. Okay, but here's the thing that really blew my mind. Perkins uses data to show that a lot of people, maybe even most people,
Yeah.
end up saving way too much and then they die with all this money that they never even got to enjoy.
It's sad.
It is sad. And he uses data from the Federal Reserve Board.
Oh, wow.
It shows that the median net worth
Okay.
for Americans keeps going up until they're in their mid-70s.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. And even those high net worth retirees, the ones who really did well financially,
Yeah.
they only end up spending down a tiny fraction of their assets.
That's crazy.
I know. And he even tells this story about his own grandmother.
Oh, really?
He tried to give her a $10,000 gift.
Wow.
And she was in her late 70s at this point,
Right.
and she flat out refused it.
What?
She said she didn't need it. She
Yeah.
was content with what she had.
That's amazing.
I know. It really makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Are we sacrificing so much of our present for a future that
Yeah.
we might not even be around to fully enjoy?
Let's do.
I know. It's that big question that Perkins throws at us.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, he doesn't advocate for irresponsible spending.
No.
But he does challenge us to really think about how our spending aligns with the experiences we want to have.
Absolutely.
And here's another interesting point.
Okay.
He questions this whole idea of saving a ton of money for healthcare later in life.
Oh, interesting.
Instead, he suggests that we should look into long-term care insurance as a potentially more efficient way to handle those costs.
Okay.
That's one of the areas where his perspective really diverges from that traditional financial advice.
Yeah.
He's asking us to consider alternatives,
Right.
to think outside the box.
I like that.
And then he talks about this whole thing about leaving behind these huge inheritances.
Yeah.
And Perkins isn't a fan of that.
Really?
He's not. He actually thinks that it's better to give the money to your kids and to charities while they can actually get the most out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which might mean while they're younger.
Right.
And he tells this really interesting story about Virginia Collin. And she struggled financially for years.
Oh, wow.
And meanwhile, her parents were diligently saving and investing.
Yeah.
And she did eventually inherit a lot of money. But it came when she was 49.
Oh, wow.
And it makes you think, right?
Right.
What could she have done with those resources if she'd had them 20 years earlier?
Totally.
Right? It's a powerful illustration of how timing really matters.
For sure.
And Perkins also challenges this idea that there's one right balance between spending and saving.
Oh, interesting.
He says it has to change as we get older. He's not really a fan of those simple rules,
Right.
like the 50-30-20 budget breakdown,
Yeah.
because they don't really factor in how the value of money and experiences shifts over time.
I see.
So how do we figure out that balance then?
Well, He talks about this really cool concept called the personal interest rate.
Okay.
And it's basically like how much we value
Mm-hmm.
immediate gratification versus delayed gratification.
Okay.
And get this, it actually decreases as we age.
Really?
So as we get older,
Mm-hmm.
waiting to enjoy our money
Yeah.
becomes less and less appealing.
I can definitely relate to that.
Me too.
Like that trip I took to Patagonia in my 20s.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be up for that now.
Right.
Perkins also gives us this really helpful tool.
Does he?
He does. It's called time buckets.
Oh, I heard of that.
And it's basically a way to visualize how our life experiences tend to cluster at certain ages.
That's really helpful.
It is. It's a really good way to kind of think about it.
Yeah.
It prompts us to ask, what experiences do I want to have in my 30s?
Right.
In my 50s, in my 70s?
It helps us plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like mountain climbing might be perfect for your 20s,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe less appealing when you're older.
Right. Maybe by the time you're 80,
Yeah.
your ideal experience is like
Right.
enjoying a quiet afternoon at the library.
Totally.
Time buckets. Help us think about that.
It's a great tool. And then there's this concept of net worth peak,
Yeah.
which really challenges the traditional approach to retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I found this so fascinating.
Yeah.
So what exactly does that mean?
Okay, so basically, Perkins is suggesting that there's a specific date
Okay.
that's tied to our biological age
Mm-hmm.
when our net worth should be the highest it will ever be.
And this isn't about...
And it's not about like
Right.
aiming for a certain dollar amount or anything.
Got it.
It's more about recognizing that
Yeah.
working longer to accumulate more wealth
Mm-hmm.
might not be the best strategy
Right.
if it means missing out on experiences we could be having now.
So it's like, how much is our health and free time worth?
Exactly.
I see.
There's a trade-off.
So instead of delaying gratification for decades,
Uh-huh.
the idea is to actually enjoy our wealth when we're still healthy and active enough to fully appreciate it.
That's the idea.
I like that.
Yeah.
And Perkins even encourages us to consider like phased retirement,
Oh, yeah?
gradually reducing our work hours
Mm.
to free up more time for experiences.
Right.
I mean, that sounds pretty appealing,
Yeah,
but I imagine a lot of people would worry about like running out of money.
of course. It's a common fear.
It is. It's a big one.
Yeah. Perkins acknowledges that fear.
Does he?
He does. But he also encourages us to be bold
Okay.
and take calculated risks,
Mm-hmm.
particularly when we're younger.
Okay.
He really emphasizes this idea of asymmetric risk,
Okay.
which means that the potential downside
Uh-huh.
is relatively low
Mm-hmm.
compared to the potential upside.
I see. He tells this amazing story about how he left a really secure job when he was only 25
Oh, wow.
to chase this risky but like potentially super lucrative opportunity as a trader.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that that leap of faith is actually what led to his success.
I love that.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that's kind of a common thread
I think so.
for people who subscribe to this whole die with zero philosophy?
I think Perkins definitely stresses that the potential downside of like making a bold move
Yeah,
is often way less scary than we make it out to be in our heads.
right.
And the potential upside
Yeah,
can be absolutely life-changing.
totally. And even if things don't work out exactly as planned,
Right.
you still gain those valuable experiences, the memories,
For sure.
and you still have time to kind of bounce back,
Absolutely.
especially when you're younger.
Right.
It seems like it all boils down to weighing the potential regret of not taking a chance
Mm-hmm.
versus the potential reward of actually going for it.
Yeah, I like that.
So let's talk career choices.
Yep.
If someone's listening to this and they're feeling kind of stuck,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway from Perkins?
Well, if you have a dream, especially if you're young,
Uh-huh.
his advice is clear. Go for it. Don't wait for retirement to pursue your passions,
Yeah,
because there's often a limited window for certain career paths.
makes sense.
And as we get older, that balance between risk and reward
Right.
tends to shift.
It does. But what about those like nagging fears
Oh,
that
yeah.
hold so many of us back, like
Yeah.
the fear of failure?
Fear of disappointing others.
Yeah, or just the fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
I mean, those are some pretty powerful forces.
they are. Perkins actually suggests quantifying those fears.
Oh, how do you do that?
So let's say you're afraid to move for a great job
Mm-hmm.
because you'd be far away from family and friends.
Yeah.
It's a calculate how much it would actually cost to visit them regularly.
Oh, okay.
And then compare that cost to the potential salary increase
Okay.
and the amazing experiences you might gain from that move.
I see.
So often our fears are way bigger in our minds
Right.
than they are in reality.
That's so true.
It's a perspective thing.
It is. It's like a practical way to look at it. Taking the emotion out of the equation.
I like that.
It seems like Perkins's whole approach is about making the most of our limited time and resources.
Is it?
Instead of constantly chasing more wealth,
Yeah,
he's pushing us to chase experiences.
absolutely.
He reminds us that, like, every year that goes by
Mm-hmm.
represents missed opportunities for certain experiences.
Right.
And as our health changes, some doors close forever.
That's true.
It's a little bit sobering,
Yeah,
but it's also a call to action.
it is.
We can't stop time,
No.
but we can choose how we spend it.
That's right.
So after diving deep into Die with Zero,
Yeah.
what are the biggest takeaways?
Okay, so I think the biggest takeaways are
Yeah.
Perkins challenges us to rethink traditional retirement planning.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just blindly accumulating wealth,
Yeah.
he encourages us to figure out our personal net worth peak
Uh-huh.
and start enjoying those resources
Yeah.
while we're still healthy and active enough to get the most out of them.
Makes sense. Invest in those experiences early and often.
Yeah.
Be generous while you're alive.
Uh-huh.
And don't be afraid to be bold.
Especially when you're young.
Right. It's almost like he's encouraging us to flip the script
He is.
on how we view our lives and our finances.
Exactly.
I love that. He really wants us to ask ourselves, what brings me joy?
What will I regret not doing?
Yeah. How can I make the most of every single year I have left?
Such great questions.
They are. It's about living a life that's filled with purpose
Yeah.
and rich experiences.
Absolutely.
And that starts by asking ourselves these tough questions and
Right.
making conscious choices
Absolutely.
about how we spend our time and our money.
Couldn't agree more.
Don't wait for retirement to start living.
Start today. Start today.